Hey guys, you're welcome back to my channel today. Thank you so much for stopping by. In this video, I'll be cutting and sewing this dress that you can see on your screen. So I'll be using 2 yards of Ankara fabric to achieve this style, and for the area that has the black fabric, I'll be using my shiny face for that part, and it's about half yard of fabric. So I'll start by cutting the back. What I did was to fold my fabric into two. I first of all divided the 2 yards into two, and I folded one part into two. So I'm going to rule my guideline. From there, I'll start taking my points. Okay, so the first thing I'll do is to take half of my shoulder measurement, which is 8 inches. I'll mark the 8 inches. After the 8 inches, I'm going to add extra 3 inches. Okay, so I'm extending my shoulder by 3 inches. On the extension point, I'll go down by ½ inch and I'll slant into the neckline area like this. I'm not doing 1 inch like we normally do. So after doing that, I'm going to start taking my points. The first point is the distance from my shoulder to my bust point, which is 10 inches. Next point is the distance from my shoulder to my waist point, which is 16 inches. The next point is the distance from my shoulder to my hip point, which is 23 inches. And the last point is my dress length. So after doing that, I'll go ahead and extend all these lines. I'll rule straight lines across and I'll label my lines: the bust line, the waistline, the hip line, and the dress length. So my dress length is going to be 35 inches, as you can see, but I'll be adding 1 inch for folding allowance, so I'm going to make it 36 inches. So your dress can be as long as you want it. So I'm going to roll out the 1 inch line and I'll cut out the excess fabric from the base. After doing that, I'll place my tape on the shoulder slope and I'll go down by half of my round arm or circumference, which is 8 inches. I indicated the 8 inches. I placed my tape back on the shoulder line. What I have there is about 11 inches. So I'll make sure that what I have on the armhole line is 11 inches. After doing that, I'll connect the 2 dots into a straight line and I'll roll a straight line across. So this new line is going to be my chest line. Okay. After doing that, I'm going to place my bust circumference divided by 4 on the chest line. So the bust circumference divided by 4 I'm working with is about 9 inches. I indicated the 9 inches. Okay, after doing that, I'm going to add the same 3 inches that I added on the shoulder. I'll add it there. Okay, so after doing that, I'll just connect from the armhole all the way to that 3. So I'm adding 3 inches to all my measurements. On the waistline, I'll place my waist circumference divided by 4 and I'll also add 3 inches to that measurement. So I'm going to connect from the bust to the waist like this, and I'll also repeat the same thing for the hip line. So I'll place my hip circumference divided by 4 and then I'll add extra 3 inches. So if you want your dress to be fuller, you can do more than 3 inches, and if you don't want it full at all, you can just do 2 inches. So it depends on your preference. After doing that, I'll now connect from the waistline to the hip line using the curved part of my ruler. So what I have on the hip line, I'll place on the base of my dress. After placing, I'm going to connect from the hip line to the base using the straight part of my ruler like this. So after doing that, guys, I'm going to go ahead and cut off the excess fabric on the sides and on the shoulder area. On the chest line, because I want the chest line to be a little bit free, I'm going to be adding extra 1 inch. You don't have to do this, and I want the armhole to be a little bit wide so I'll be able to fix my sleeves. Okay, so I'll shape it later. So I added 1 inch to it and then I connected it back to the waist. So after doing that, I'll go ahead and cut from the base to the hip, the waistline, the armhole area, and then the neckline area. So the next thing I'll do is to take my neckline measurement. So this dress does not have a zipper, so I'll be using 3 by 3 inches, 3 inches for the width, 3 inches for the depth. Okay, and then I'm going to use my ruler to connect like this. Okay, so this pattern we are drafting is for the back. Okay, so after connecting, this is what I have. I'm going to go ahead and cut the neckline out. So now we'll be cutting the front. This is the other part of my fabric. I'm going to go ahead and fold it into 2. As you can see, it is folded into 2. So I'm going to now place the back on the front. Now the back is going to be wider than the front because we are going to replace what we are taking out from the front with the plain black fabric. So I'm going to make the front 3.5 inches shorter than the back. So I placed the back fabric on the front fabric, and I made sure that it is wider than the front, sorry. So what I'm doing now is cutting off the excess fabric on the side. So aside the center front, every other thing is supposed to be the same. So just look at the way I placed the front on the back. So I left 3.5 inches at the front, so you can see this is 3.5 inches, okay, which will be replacing on the front. So you can do 2 inches. It depends on how wide you want the plain fabric to be, okay. So for me, I took out 3.5 inches. So after cutting the sides and everything aligned, I went ahead to remove the back fabric, and I'm going to split the front open. You can see the front is smaller, and the front does not have a neckline. The only thing it has is the shoulder area, so the neckline is not included at the front, okay. So now I went ahead to open up my back fabric at the right side, and I'm going to open up the two front piece. I'm going to place it. You can see after placing them, the shoulders are aligned. The front does not have any neckline at all. It's just the shoulder, okay. It's just like a kimono dress. So I went ahead to also sew the shoulders in place using 1/2 inch. Now I'll be cutting out the sleeves. I went ahead to fold my fabric into 4. So go ahead and draft out your basic sleeves. I used this lazy arc, and it didn't come out well at all. So I just placed the armhole area of my blouse and I trimmed it off. So what I would advise you to do is to draft out your basic sleeves. Do not follow this process at all. So after doing that, I connected from the armhole area in a slant because I want it to be wide. So if you have enough fabric, you can fold your fabric in a bias form to give you that circular effect for the sleeves. So after doing that, I went ahead to measure the length of my sleeves, and what I have is 22 inches. I also measured the wideness, which is about 22 inches. So I'll be cutting out the plain fabric that I'll be attaching to the sleeves, so you can make it as wide as you want. For me, I'm doing about 3 inches. So I'm going to cut one out, and then I'll use that one to cut out the other part of the sleeves. So after cutting, I'm going to place it on my fabric. Remember, the band you are cutting for the sleeve should be on fold, okay. So I'll place them right side facing right side, and I'll sew using 1/2 inch. After joining the shoulders of the front and that of the back, this is what I have. So what I'm doing is using my tape to measure from one end of the dress to the other end, and what I had was about 72 inches. So I'm going to be cutting out the plain fabric, which is now going to be 72 inches plus. So I'll cut out the excess when I'm done sewing. So I have these two piece of fabric, and they are folded into 2. The wideness is 4 inches. Remember, I took out 3.5 inches. I added extra 1/2 inch to it, which I'll be using as my joining allowance, okay. So I'm going to go ahead and join these two fabric together, right side facing right side. As you can see, I'll go ahead and sew using 1/2 inch. After sewing, this is what I have. So that part that I joined is going to be the center. So I'm going to spread my dress like this, and I'm going to notch the center back, okay. Just notch the center back, as you can see me doing. After doing that, I'm going to place this part that I joined on the center back of the main fabric, okay. Arrange it in place and then place it like this. Then I'm going to pin and sew from one end to the other end, just like this. So you can pin and then go ahead and sew all the way around, okay. You sew from this end and you sew on the other end. After sewing, guys, this is what I have. This is what it looks like, okay. So I used 1/2 inch to sew all the way around. So the next thing I'm going to do now is to fix my sleeves. So like I said, the tip of my sleeves became too long. I had to even reshape it and remove that long tip that you can see. So just cut out your basic sleeves, okay. So go ahead and sew your sleeves in place, and then you're going to shape the sides, but leave a little bit of opening on the waistline, the waist area, sorry, because we are going to be sewing our band to that area. So I've gone ahead to sew my sleeves in place. I also closed the side, but I left an opening on the waistline because I want to sew my rope at the back. So this is the rope I'll be using. You can cut it out however you want it. You turn it inside out, and then you can sew it to the waistline. This is to give the dress that fitting that you can see on the waist area. So I passed my rope through the allowance that I left, the opening that I left. I'm going to go ahead and pin it down, and I'll head over to my sewing machine to sew that part close. Okay, so just go ahead and sew the part close. Okay, so after doing that, guys, the last thing I'm going to do now is to arrange the neckline of my dress. Okay, so fold the center, that part that you joined, you start arranging from there all the way, as you can see me doing, and you're going to mark how deep you want your neckline to be. You can measure before marking. From that center back, I went down by about 12.5 inches, depending on how deep you want it to be. Okay, I decided to use 13 inches. Okay, so I came down by 13 inches. What I'll do now is to close the remaining part of this dress. So I'll be using that fanning to sew all the way to the end. Okay, so after sewing, I went to give it a good press, and this is what I have. So the 13 inches is okay for me. My chest is not too opened. I also sewed the band in place, and this is what it looks like. So the band is going to help you snatch the waist area when you wear your dress. Okay, so you tie it at the back. So the last thing I'll do is to hem the base of my dress, and that is all for this tutorial. I hope it was helpful. Don't forget to like this video. Leave your questions in the comment section. Thank you so much for watching. I'll see you in the next one.